And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of World Hockey Report. Here on this Tuesday, the final Tuesday here in May the 31st. And with it being the final day of May, it is the first day of the conference finals. That is right, everyone. We have the Rangers and the Lightning. And then we have the Avs and the Oilers. That gets started tonight. We'll get to all those games and more news and all the great stuff here on World Hockey Report. I am your host today, the insider of the insiders, Tyler Kuehl, at World Hockey RPT, live as always from the Pro Rock Hockey Stick Studios, here to give you another great show of World Hockey Report. Thank you all very much for tuning in today. And whether you're listening on the podcast form after the fact or watching us live, whether it be on the World Hockey Report Twitter, the 12 Ounce Sports Twitter, or the Hockey Podcast Network's YouTube channel, thank you guys all very, very much. You guys are awesome and beauties in every which way. Be sure to get involved in the conversation in today's show as well. Be sure to follow us at World Hockey RPT. Number one. And then number two, be sure to go check us out as well in the group chats, whether it be on the Hockey Podcast Network and or on the 12 Ounce Sports pages as well. Get involved and let us know what you think is going on here in these conference finals and some of your favorite news as well, because there's a lot to get to today. I mean, by a lot, I mean, we're going to talk about the two series, of course. We're going to have Erik Pessolano coming up at the top of hour number 2 to talk about the Oilers and the Avalanche, broadcaster Erik Pessolano, as well as at the bottom of the first hour here, Matty Marchese from Sportsnet will be helping us get ready for the Eastern Conference Finals. The New York Rangers finally beating the Carolina Hurricanes last night in Game 7 on the road, knocking out the Hurricanes in Raleigh. Very disappointing night. We already got some people jumping in the chats, and by someone I mean the peanut butter man himself, Sean Butcher, saying go Avs. That is right, kids. The Avs getting ready for the McConference Finals, what a lot of us are calling it, the Connor McDavid versus Nathan McKinnon. And while we all have you here, might as well mention the fact that we have our picks. We've all put our picks together at World Hockey Report. So let's throw these up here on the board so you guys can look at them and then laugh at us when we are all wrong. Let's take a look at them right here. I picked Tampa Bay and Colorado. And, for most, for you wrestling fans out there, Ric Flair, what does he always say? In order to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, you want to be the champion, you got to beat the champion. And until that happens, Tampa might continue onwards. Adam's the only one that's going with the Rangers. Cody and I both picking Tampa. And then, of course, Colorado. Well, I may be the only one here. Sorry, folks from Alberta. I think the Avs have a shot to do it. I picked them in 6. And boy, I mean, Edmonton's got a chance. There's no question about it. I really think Edmonton is certainly a good enough team to make it happen. No question about it. Like I said, we'll get into those a little bit more in depth later on. But I mean, my goodness, from last night's game, my initial reaction was this. Before Antti Raanta got hurt, you just felt like it was a different game. Even though Carolina was getting chances and Shesterkin had to make big save after big save after big save, it felt like it was destined to have some sort of failure for the Hurricanes, just by the way the game was going. And a lot of people on Twitter were already going crazy saying, oh my goodness, it's better when the Oilers are a part of it. And of course, a lot of people think the National Hockey League is better when the big money teams are successful, and that's certainly the New York Rangers. No disrespect to Carolina Hurricanes fans out there. Sean Butcher says, hey, I picked that also. I mean, hey, listen, Nathan McKinnon versus Steven Stamkos. I mean, Nathan McKinnon versus Connor McDavid certainly is a dream matchup within itself. But how about Nathan McKinnon trying to show that he wants to win something in this league? We'll talk about, like I said, that with more with Erik Pessolano. He is certainly a Colorado Avalanche expert. So we'll certainly get into that with him. The question of the day today, be sure to chime in on the chat with this as well, guys, because there's a couple really good, interesting takes on this one. And like I said, we'll mention this a little bit more with Erik Pessolano, but the question I dropped today, we dropped here at World Hockey Report, was that how many goals are going to get scored in the Avs-Oilers series? Less than 30, 31 to 50, or over 50? Because this has the potential to be one of two things. Either both teams completely change how they play the game of hockey, at least what we've seen in the first 2 rounds and the regular season. High-scoring offense, defense, minimal, all that fun jazz. Or will they just keep playing like crazy and have 7-8, 9-8 games every single game of a 7-game series. And of course, we also put the option of over 9,000. That is a strict Dragon Ball Z reference. So there you go. We'll have a little fun on the Twitters as well. But man, I tell you what, guys, this is going to be an exciting next couple of weeks here, as if the playoffs aren't great enough as it is. Colorado Born saying good morning. Is it morning? Is it still morning? My goodness, must be more. I love this. Learn that this is a match of the two fastest players according to NHL 22 for the Edmonton Colorado series. Yes, and that being that's Cale. I mean, they have it right. It's Cale Makar and Connor McDavid. Those are two of the fastest skaters. Now, if you guys remember when we talked with Nick Alberga last Thursday, I had mentioned that I am more terrified of Nathan McKinnon coming down the wing. McKinnon versus McKinnon. Really? McKinnon is faster than Cale Makar on NHL 22? Well, I gotta call my boys up in Burnaby and tell them to fix that, because I can tell you, I think Cale Makar is faster, straight line speed than Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon is a terrifying skater, though. He is thick tree trunk legged Nathan McKinnon, and could possibly certainly be a linebacker in the CFL or NFL if he wanted to be. You mean McDuck? That is, well, listen, you're trying to anger Anaheim Ducks fans there, Sean Butcher, saying you mean McDuck, jumping in on the chat there. Be sure to jump in the chat, everyone. It's awesome, fun. We get to do a little Q&A here for the first half hour. Gosh almighty, people are calling my phone. Must be a great show. People are flying in to call my phone. I'm not giving any of you my number, though. I'm sorry about that. I don't want any people ringing me in the wee hours of the morning saying that my picks were wrong, because right now I'm 7-5 in these playoffs, even though I think Cody Janzen rigged them to be in his favor. Let's be honest here. No, but we'll get into that, like we said, a little bit later on with the playoff talks with Matt Marchese coming up at the bottom of the hour, and then top of hour number 2, it will be, like we said, Erik Pessolano. And so it'll be certainly fun. McKinnon is a great skater, no doubt, Sean Butcher. McDavid is a 96. McKinnon is 94. Makar is a 93. We got to fix that. We're gonna change that. But no, it's going to be a fun series indeed. Sorry, we got a lot of people going. It's going crazy here. Sorry, we were having some technical difficulties on the 12-Ounce Sports Facebook side of things, so we do apologize on that if you're trying to find us on Facebook. So obviously, well, if you know that, you're obviously here on either the Hockey Podcast Network and or the Twitters. And so, yeah, give us your thoughts on the picks, and we'll talk about those a little bit later on. Let's get to some news, though, that happened over the past week. But before we get to that, it is Stanley Cup playoff time. Duh. And that means if you want to save some money on your tickets when you spend a lot of money to go to these conference finals and then the inevitable Stanley Cup finals, depending on where you're at, well, save some money and sign up for SeatGeek. Use the promo code WHR when checking out. It's that simple on SeatGeek. When you use the promo code World Hockey Report, WHR, the initials, on your first purchase, you will save $20. So, the cool news from international hockey, I'll tell you this. I didn't get to watch as much in the second half of the tournament. A, I got really busy, and B, I don't have NHL Network. I don't have access to that, and I couldn't find a way to really bootleg stream it without going to a really, really janky website. I was able to watch it when I was in Mauritius over the week before, because when you're international, you actually get the broadcast for free through the IHF.com, through the website, which is awesome. Unfortunately, not here in North America. They make you watch NHL Network, which means I have to pay extra for that. I don't feel like doing that because I already have a cool streaming service. I don't want to pay for another one. Inflation, it's a wonderful thing. Gas thing just jumped to $4.80 a gallon here in West Michigan, and I know it's pretty bad in some stretches of Canada as well. I think someone told me it was like $1.30 some parts of downtown Toronto. I could be wrong on that. But regardless, I was able to catch I did find a way to watch it back, the Finland-Canada gold medal game. Holy cow, Canada almost did it again. Almost another epic rally. However, Sakari Manninen, former World Junior legend for Finland, ends up scoring the game-winning goal in overtime. Finland goes double gold this year, guys. They win the Olympic gold medal as well as the World Championship gold as well. Don't be horrible. Did the World Hockey Report get a new host? Cody was good. Don't worry there. Don't be horrible. Cody is hosting tomorrow. He hosts the Wednesday editions of the World Hockey Report. We flip off every other Thursday. I got Tuesday and Thursday this week. Don't worry. Don't worry. Janner's still here. Janner's the one's actually messaging me right now, making sure everything's okay on my end. Everything's okay. I mean, yeah, we're having a good time here. Gas here in Fort Knox, Kentucky is $4.90 a gallon, on the verge of $5 a gallon. See, that's why I'm glad And a mental note to anyone that ever drives through the Midwest. Obviously, California is ridiculous, and then like New York is ridiculous, but Chicago, and by that I mean the state of Illinois. Because we had to fly out of Chicago to go on our vacation, the wife and I, we literally stopped at the Indiana border, filled up our tank, which only needed about less than half a tank, on our way down from Grand Rapids to Chicago. And then we ended up going back and then getting gas when we got back to Grand Rapids, because gas in Chicago, you're going to love this one, Butch, it was like $5.30, $5.40 on average, let alone actually being in Chicago. That was like when we were on the outskirts of I-94 and I-90. So I can tell you that, gas sucks in certain parts gas sucks really bad in certain parts of the United States. Indeed, gas is $3.20 a liter. Holy moly! Don't be horrible. You are being horrible. Where the heck are you at there, friend? $3.20 a liter? Jeez Louise. City Light Project, great show, Tyler. Thank you very much, City Light Project. Be sure to go give them a follow, guys. It's insane. I can't imagine what's in BC right now. Oh, poor Romy and the guys. Holy moly, you guys are probably paying an arm and a leg. You guys are literally paying Brock Besser's next contract with the amount of gas you guys are spending probably right now, right? Out there in BC. My word. But I tell you what, you should, don't be horrible. Yes. Oh, man, that's crazy. I can't imagine paying $3.20 a liter. I will say that was there was a quick side story, even though we've been doing that in the first 20 minutes here for World Hockey Report. Thank you all for joining us, by the way, here. Like I said, bottom of the hour, we got Matt Marchese from Sportsnet coming on here. When I was playing in Lucknow, we had a couple gas stations in town, but then if you went to Goderich, home of the Junior Flyers, by the way, Junior C Flyers, if you went in there, the gas was a little bit cheaper. And I remember at one point there was so much snow in both Western Ontario and the Upper Peninsula in Michigan that gas was 77 cents a gallon. This was 2016. 77 cents a gallon in Marquette, Michigan. And it was 83 cents a liter in Goderich. It was the most insane thing ever. I said to myself, that's the first time in my life that I've ever seen the price for a gallon of gas is cheaper than a price per liter ever. I've never seen that before in my life. It is insane. Gas going up across and it's funny, my wife just texted me or called me before we went on the show here. She's like, we need to start biking around. I'm like, it's 87 freaking degrees outside and humid. You know, it's 32, 33 every single day for the last week here in Michigan. Heck no, I'm not riding my bike everywhere. I'll just stay home and sip my steaming hot coffee in an air-conditioned house. I'll do that here. Other news, obviously, first of all, congratulations once again to Finland. By the way, Italy and Great Britain getting relegated from the top division. How about this? Slovenia and Hungary getting promoted to the top division for next year's World Championships. Interesting indeed, especially in the fact that the women's Hungarian national team has been competed in last year's Women's World Championships for the first time. So good to see the men's and women's both in the top division for next year's tournaments. Really exciting for that. The big reveal today, St. Louis Blues had their locker room cleanout and postseason media day today. Jordan Binnington confirming that he was the one that threw the water bottle at Nazem Kadri. Well, thank goodness we got that cleared up. Sean Butcher, no, I'm not biking in 90-degree weather with humidity. Haha, no thanks. Oh, yeah, you're in Kentucky. That's even worse, probably. I couldn't imagine what it's like in Florida or Alabama or Texas. Gosh, it's probably ridiculous. But going back to Binnington here, the fact that he goes through, he explains why he did it and all that stuff. And listen, he's a passionate guy. No question about it. Jordan Binnington is a very passionate fella. We've seen it. We've seen the fact that he will try to entice Devin Dubnyk, Nazem Kadri, a bunch of other people. But, him explaining why he did it, listen, I love it. I love the WWE aspect to it, the behind the scenes, the animosity, and obviously that carried through the series. But unfortunately, yes, it got taken too far by some jackwagons after that game, of course, when Jordan Binnington got his season cut short. But I find it funny because, I'm sorry, Jordan Binnington is a great goaltender. He just does not seem like a likable guy. And like I said, he's a great goaltender. He almost single-handedly gave the Blues a chance in that series against the Avalanche. That's how good Jordan Binnington is. He really showed the kind of Binnington that we saw 3 years ago when they won the Stanley Cup. But he always has these stinking freak-out moments that I don't get. Listen, I've lost my lid before on players, but this guy is trying to fight other goaltenders and fight tough guys. I mean, one of these days, Bennington's going to get his, and it's not going to end well for him. And so, it's funny. I've actually talked to people in St. Louis. I can name drop a couple great guys, but I won't for this sake. And they said, listen, we love Jordan Bennington, but there are times, yes, he's a little bit of a hothead, and we're not fans of when he goes crazy because typically that means he's not playing well. So, and there'll be some interesting news. I mean, Bennington said he does not need surgery, so he'll be back for next season. What will Doug Armstrong do? He has Billy Husso. He has Jordan Bennington on Bennington's contract. What will he do? Will he make a decision on one? Will Husso want to stay around? We'll just have to wait and see indeed. Big news, of course, coming from the New Jersey Devils. They have a new director of player development. That is Megan Duggan. Yes, the former Olympian getting promoted within the organization over there in New Jersey. Congratulations to her. Can't wait to see what she does with the New Jersey Devils because obviously very young and exciting team. And I think a team that the last couple of years has been disappointing because we thought that they can take the strides to be better. Now, yes, that her job is player development, not the current team, but certainly the way they've been able to bring in young talent, they're getting high draft picks consistently. They got the second round pick once again. So, it'll be interesting to see how she makes an impact with the franchise and try to make the Devils relevant once again in the playoffs. Let's see. Colorado Born says, I hate 90-degree weather. Okay, Colorado Born, I got something to say here. You people in Colorado, why don't you believe in air conditioning? I got friends out there, and I go visit them in the summertime, and I feel like I'm going to die. You guys don't, half the places around there don't have AC because it's a dry heat and it cools down at night. No, not enough for me. It's ridiculous. Colorado Born also says Rosen is much at fault for as Kadri is for Bennington's injury. That is the argument. You're right there, Colorado Born. Sean Butcher says, hey, I mean, if you get shot with 90-mile-an-hour frozen biscuits, wouldn't you be a little off? Listen. I can tell you this. Us goaltenders, we're a little funky. We're a little funny people here, okay? I've faced Marty Firk, and if you guys don't know who Marty Firk is, he set a record in the American Hockey League skills competition with a 109-mile-an-hour slap shot. And a couple of his back in the day when he was starting out in Grand Rapids rang off my dome. And my wife tells me every single day it makes a lot of sense. So there you go. Take with that what you will. Colorado Born lives in New Jersey. Well, there you go, Colorado Born. Wait, hold on. You live in New Jersey? Was 2001 a tough year for you? I got a little 2001. Yeah, it's funny when we'll talk about with Erik Pessolano later a little bit about the 01 Avalanche a little bit, given the fact that is still the last championship, the major championship for the Colorado Avalanche. I almost said the city of Denver. I'm like, wait, Peyton Manning was the thing. That's right. And so don't worry. I was not gonna podcast radio myself there. So do not worry about that. Like I said, folks, in just a few minutes' time, we're going to be joined by none other than Matty Marchese from Sportsnet. We're going to be chatting with him about the Eastern Conference because big game last night. Not the Colorado Avalanche. We're moving back to East. We're going back to Eastern bias here. The Carolina Hurricanes finally falling at home because Igor Shesterkin is amazing, and the Hurricanes just don't have that scoring will that the Rangers have, which is crazy because that's what we thought the Hurricanes had, and they spent all that money to get Kotkaniemi, and Sebastian Aho was there, and Svechnikov was allegedly there. I saw him on the lineup card. I didn't really see him much during the game, but that's with whatever you may take that as. We'll talk with Matty about that and get his thoughts. We'll get his thoughts on both conference finals while we have him, of course. But yeah, give us your thoughts. Give us your picks on the series. If you're just joining us here on World Hockey Report, thank you all very much. Be sure to follow us. You can follow me as well, the Insider of the Insiders, Tyler Kuehl at TJKU29 on the Twitters as well. By the way, on World Hockey Report, we're not just on Twitter, of course. We're also on the Facebook. We're also on the Instagram, and we're also on TikTok. Post little fun videos there daily on the TikTok. So we're trying to be, as the kids say, with it, and so we can make sure we're hip. We are hip, yo. No, we're not at all. I'm not, at least. Janner and Adam, those guys are, but not me at all. But before we do jump over to break, guys, I got to remind you, Stanley Cup playoffs means WHR OT Challenge. World Hockey Report OT Challenge is back. That is right. We're presented this year by Player. So whenever a playoff game goes to overtime, be sure to go on Twitter and pick your goal scorers and use the hashtag WHROT Challenge. If you don't know how to spell it, well, just make sure your phone is set to autocorrect and it'll take care of that for you. Be sure that you get entered to win an awesome World Hockey Report prize pack as well from Player. So be sure to hammer down in overtime in these conference finals and maybe the Stanley Cup Finals as well on hashtag WHROT Challenge. There's been a couple of great overtime games these playoffs. Tyler, you don't look that old. 40? 40? 40? Do I really look 40? Don't be horrible. Early 30s, Sean. Oh my gosh. Sorry, have I been married that long? Do I get wrinkles now? No, I'm only 27. Oh my gosh. Is it because I have coffee all the time? It makes me 35 years old? I mean, listen, Cody Janzen and I both like Jeopardy, but we're both he's a year younger than me. We're not that old. Janner, if you're in there, if you're watching, listening, help us out here. The kids think these guys think that we're old farts. My gosh. Now, I will say my hips feel like they're 45 years old, but that's a discussion for a different day with my doctor and my physician. We don't need to have that here on World Hockey Report. But by the way, I forgot to mention the fun World Championships that happened there. How about the bronze medal game? Did you guys see that? Czechia versus the United States. What was it? 5 goals in the third period for Czechia to down the Americans 8-4. That thing is crazy. I mean, that game was insane. And, the Americans who went into that tournament with a lot of college guys and a lot of expectations to do well, not even medaling. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but the senior men's tournaments for the United States, just for the last few years, dating back even, after 2010, unable to find a way to medal out in any of these tournaments. World Juniors aside, obviously, they do a really good job there. Yes, the Americans did not medal then. Don't be horrible. That is it's a bummer because, there's a couple really good guys on that team. Strauss Mann being one, former Michigan Wolverine himself, guy that I loved watching play college hockey. Ben Myers, of course, was there. That team looked really good on paper. And I mean, the World Championships are a crapshoot anyways. I mean, shoot, what was the year Cristobal Huet literally beat Canada with France? They won 3-2 in one game, because Cristobal Huet played 2007, 2006 Montreal Canadiens Cristobal Huet, something like that. My goodness, crazy times. We're going to hit a break, though, guys. When we come back on the other side, Eastern Conference Finals talks. We're going to be joined by Matty Marchese from Sportsnet. Will the Tampa Bay Lightning go back to the Stanley Cup Finals? Or will the New York Rangers cause some havoc with their goaltenders? Oh, it's a great goaltending matchup we got coming up, guys. That game for Game 1 tomorrow. We'll talk about it next here on World Hockey Report. Get ready to win with Billy's Smelling Salts. Billy's Smelling Salts are for gamers, athletes, and competitors alike who want to get in the zone. Us at World Hockey Report teamed up with Billy's, and if you use the promo code WHR when checking out, you'll save yourself some money. The highest quality smelling salts in the game and at the best price point if you use the promo code WHR on Billy's. Billy's Smelling Salts. Get ready to win.
Fans, Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN. Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
It's Stanley Cup playoff time in the NHL. NHL. And if you want to save some money on your next ticket purchase, sign up for SeatGeek and use promo code WHR when checking out. It's that simple on SeatGeek. When you use promo code WHR on your first purchase, you'll save $20.
Get ready to win with Billy's Smelling Salts. Billy's Smelling Salts are for gamers, athletes, and competitors alike who want to get in the zone. Us at World Hockey Report teamed up with Billy's, and if you use the promo code WHR when checking out, you'll save yourself some money. The highest quality smelling salts in the game and at the best price point if you use the promo code WHR on Billy's. Billy's Smelling Salts. Get ready to win. And welcome back, everyone, here to World Hockey Report on this Tuesday edition, May 31st, the last day in May, even though it feels like it's about, July 32nd in some places. Yes, I just made up a date. I'm sorry, guys. Tyler Kuehl here on World Hockey Report, Tuesdays and Thursday this week for sure. Be sure to, guys, remind you, though, if you ever want your awesome World Hockey Report swag, be sure to check out 12ouncesportsradio.com/store for all of your World Hockey Report merchandise, from hats and hoodies to everything in between. T-shirts as well, and tank tops, because it's that time of year for the playoffs. Be sure to go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/store to get your covered with the World Hockey Report swag. Now, let us get into the conference finals talks a little bit more than we already were before we came on here. We're going to get into the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, they don't start tonight, I know, but that Game 7 last night, a game that we did not expect to go that way, let's be honest, just the way the Hurricanes are playing. So I need a little bit of help here. I'm joined now by the producer for the Jeff Merrick Show every single day on Sportsnet, as well as hosting himself. Did a great job on Friday. He's also hosting later this week on the Sportsnet radio networks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is none other than Matt Marchese. Matt, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. What an intro there. I got to get you to voice the intros for when I'm hosting. I mean, it's a pretty good plug.
What? Just put me on the live line there. I will give everything I have for the Sportsnet radio networks. I tell you that much. That'd be the highlight of my career. No offense to Cody Janzen, the guy.
Aim higher.
Hockey Report.
Aim higher. Aim higher.
Oh man, no. Matty's always fun because Matty will chime in every so often with Jeff if they ever have a lull, and sometimes that's some of my favorite spots. No offense to the awesome guests you have, and no offense to Elliot Friedman. No, full offense. Wixie loves Elliot Friedman. But no, what is that like? From someone who's in Michigan, where let's just say hockey's not the biggest thing. What's it like working in the Sportsnet radio networks where you're talking to all these big names every single day?
I've been doing it for a long time. And it's
hence the beard, right?
The beard. No, the beard is actually for the baby that's on the way. I told my wife, because she hates beards, I said, I'm going to grow the not the playoff beard, the baby beard. So by August, it'll probably be gone. It needs a little bit of a trim. But yeah, no, it's the gray in the beard that is from working so long in the business. That's what that's for. But yeah, no, it's great. I mean, listen, I've seen family members who, actually have to work for a living. Like Jeff's famous line is, in this business, it beats working for a living. And it's sports every day. It's hockey. It's, whatever the case may be. If I'm hosting on Saturdays, it's a blast. Like I don't know. My hands are really soft, and it's not because I do have good hands on the ice, but it's not because of that. It's because me and physical labor, not very good friends.
Oh my gosh. It's funny you mention that, because I tell everyone this all the time, because, we make a little bit of money in the media game here. I have my hands in certain endeavors, but it's not a whole lot. People say, well, why don't you get a real job, Tyler? I'm like, because I worked one Black Friday a couple of years ago, and I swore to myself I'll never do it ever again. So manual labor off the table for me. That's why I got married to a nurse. See, I'm the trophy husband here. That's what I am.
Yeah. I married a teacher, and teachers are very not like, I know in the US it's not quite the same, but teachers up here, they do all right. So I was smart to marry a teacher.
You got to find someone. That's what my dad told me, is you got to find someone smarter than you, right? That's what you got to do. We're joined here by Matty Marchese of Sportsnet. We were actually talking about age a little bit, and Adam Bonilla, because I was talking about how they all thought I was 40 years old, and I told them my hips felt like that as a former goaltender. Adam Bonilla jumps in saying, wait till you hit 50, then you're lucky to feel anything, Marchese. I think that's a pretty good testament, eh?
I'm 33, and I tell people that the day that I turned 30, I rolled out of bed and went, uh-oh.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure, like, that's from years of whatever. Like, I played junior hockey. You know, you played hurt all the time because, you know, because in hindsight, you're an idiot for doing all that stuff.
You can't lose your spot on the team. That's what's
no. And it's more of like the pride thing. And then you look back on it when you turn 30 and you go, it's probably a bad idea. Like, you know, throwing a ball hurts because I've separated my shoulder more than I can count. Like, I get up, you know, this morning and I had like random swelling in my knee because I never rested a partially torn meniscus. I mean, and for you goalies, it's way worse.
Oh,
I couldn't even fathom being a goalie, because to me, that's physical labor.
Well, I mean, we saw it last night with Antti Raanta, a peak athlete, pulling his groin in a playoff game. I remember my last game ever, game ever playing for Lucknow. We played Mapleton, lost in a shootout. I remember my dad was there. We went to dinner afterwards, and I remember literally almost needing crutches to go from my car to the restaurant because I couldn't walk anymore. I'm like, yep, this is a good way to end the career.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, you know what got me about that whole thing? I'm watching it, and all I hear after he goes down is the "ref, you suck" chant. And listen, I was one who berated referees, and I admit it was a bad thing to do. I even did it when I was coaching, the same thing. But at least have a reason to say "ref, you suck." The guy just went post to post, and it was a really awkward slide that he had. And I'm like, really? Like, if they made a bad call, I get it, but what did the ref have to do with any of that? Did he not blow the whistle fast enough for you? I mean, it was a shame to see him go down because he wasn't playing poorly. I mean, he made 16 saves on 18 shots. It's not great. It's certainly not Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah.
But then you have Kochetkov come in, and that poor guy comes in, and he was just target practice, because it's at that point, the Hurricanes had to push for goals, so you're just leaving your goalie out to dry. And that was a prime example, was on the Strome goal. The play right before that, he gets left out to dry, makes a great save, goes end to end, another big save, Shesterkin, they go down, and then they score. I mean, it was such a bad spot, and you start to wonder about what's going to happen with the goalies there, because Freddie Anderson, and as it's been pointed out by more people than myself, he's very careful with his injuries. And by that, I mean, he is the guy that probably needs to be 100% or pretty close to it to play. You know, when we hear things like Braden Shen played with 3 separated ribs, and then you've got other guys that are playing through injuries. We just talked about playing through injuries. Yeah. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars. We weren't.
Hey, I was getting $100 a week.
You're a lucky guy. And so you have that thing that's lingering over the Hurricanes. It's going to be a really interesting offseason. They got some decisions to make.
Yeah, no, I really agree, because the Hurricanes, I mean, that's a good way to get into the game last night. It felt like, though, when Raanta went down, that even though Carolina was, getting the betterment of the shots, it just seemed like the Rangers were playing a better game. Like, they went into that game last night saying, we are going to win, because it just felt different when the puck dropped. It didn't feel like the first 3 games of the series in Carolina, or even all 4 in Raleigh in the series against Boston. It just felt like the Rangers were going to do something that no one else had done up until that point in this postseason. And then Chris Kreider did the Chris Kreider thing outside of running into the goaltender, and Mika Zibanejad plays a great game as well, and of course Igor Shesterkin. I don't know what more we can do. I'm not on the Jeff Merrick Hart Trophy bandwagon with Shesterkin, but my goodness, he's probably the best goaltender this season, Matty. No question. Oh, yeah, he's going to win the Vezina Trophy. He should win it going away. And that's not anything against, Jacob Markstrom, who is great, but Shesterkin is just, he's on a different level. And we heard about this myth
that was Igor Shesterkin. Let's not forget that when he was in the World Juniors, he and Ilya Sorokin were on the same World Junior team, and neither of them were the starting goalie. Let's not forget that. That was a mistake. But when we watched Shesterkin, we had Steve Valiquette on the show the other day, and he's an incredible wealth of knowledge. And he talked about Shesterkin. He doesn't go down too early, and he preserves his energy a lot. And his point was, he sees the play more, and he sees the play develop more because he's standing, as opposed to being in a crouch all the time. Well, also, when you're in a crouch all the time, it's harder on your body. I would much rather stand up than have to crouch down. And he does it, and it preserves energy, which is why he's able to be so good late in games. But to your point about how the game started, listen, I bet on the Rangers to win last night. I put my money where my mouth was.
Unsolicited NHL gambling.
From Matty Marchese. Yeah, exactly. And I had the Rangers on the money line last night because I just looked at the way that they had played in the series. And the one thing that tipped me towards that was how they played in game 1 in Raleigh. They had the game won. If Capo Caco buries on the empty net, like a wide open net, we're talking about a totally different series here. We're not talking about, Carolina only winning at home and not being able to win on the road. The game was in their hands. They give up the late goal to Aho, and then they lose it in overtime. The Rangers owned that game. And when you go into a game 7 like that, I'm going to go with the goalie that I think can win me, can stand on his head and win the game. And it was in the Rangers end, and it's nothing against Antti Raanta because he was fine during the series. But Shesterkin's save percentage was like .950 in the series. That's pretty good. That's kind of it's kind of good. That's not a small sample size. When we're in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. So you talked about Chris Kreider and his performances in elimination games and game 7s is going to become of legend. He's had the 2 goals last night. The first one, he's one of the best tippers of the puck in the NHL. That first one was a brilliant tip.
Yeah.
Incredible. And he's lethal, like you said, running over goalies. But also, even the second goal, the burst of speed that he showed and outskated Jacob Slavin, who was not going slow. That Chris Kreider is a fast man. He's a very powerful man.
Yeah. And
just, being able to do that late in the game and really put things away. I mean, that's what your stars get paid for. And like you said, their stars showed up last night.
And that's why Chris Kreider scored 50 goals. Richard Farley jumped in the chat and made a good point just right before you mentioned that, Matty, how many goalies are stopping Kreider's second goal. Don't put that on the rookie. I'm not. We were talking about it. Carolina was pushing for goals. That's something they haven't really had to do on home ice this postseason, and really whenever they've been successful, they're usually the ones leading the game, not having to chase it. And and Rod Brindamore came out after the game last night saying that they need a goal scorer, they need top guys. I mean, even though they only have Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and my Marty Necas is a big time player too. I mean, he has those guys. It's just unfortunately they just did not step up when they needed it most.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you play against Igor Shesterkin. We're finding that out. He needed to get his feet wet last round. That Pittsburgh series was a weird series. It probably never should have gone 7 games because I think the Rangers are just that much better. And throwing the fact that the Rangers were going up against first the backup goalie, then the third string goalie, the Rangers have had incredible luck with going up against the team's not star goaltender. Tristan Jarry played the last game fine, but we know that Tristan Jarry was really hurting. And It was a last-ditch effort for them to salvage something because they were up 3-1 in the series. Exactly. And then this series, I thought we might see Freddie Anderson, but we don't see Freddie Anderson. We see Antti Raanta. He gets pulled in game 6, and then he has to leave the game because of injury in game 7. I mean, I've never seen a more fortunate team than the Rangers, but having said that, they're still really, really good, I know Carolina had expectations. I know that, they won the Metropolitan Division. They won, they earned the right for home ice in the playoffs against the Rangers, but I don't know. I just look at the Rangers in comparison, and you talked about Aho, and you talked about Svechnikov and Natchez. Natchez was so disappointing all season, just so much talent, and I just look at the Rangers and I think those guys have game breakers. They have the guy that can score 50 goals. They have Panarin, who wasn't even that good in the series, but Panarin's a guy who's, a 90-point guy. Zibanejad is about the same. I just don't see that from Carolina, but it's not because of the players. It's also because of the style that they play. They're a very defensively responsible team, and we've seen what happens with players. Like Matthew Barzal on the island is a prime example of a really talented player who gets held back because it's for the betterment of the team and the system that they play. Well, allegedly. Rod Brindamore has horses, in my opinion, but I think he's got to unleash them a little bit, because who's to say that Sebastian Aho can't score 40 goals? Who's to say that Svechnikov can't score 40 goals? Those guys are all capable, and Seth Jarvis is going to be really good too. But if you don't let them play that style, unfortunately, that's what happens.
Last thing here before we move on to the matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals here. What do you think of that Seth Jarvis hit last night? It's Jacob Trouba again. He did something, I don't say something similar, but people thought it was a borderline hit against Crosby in round one. Now we see this hit here for Jarvis that knocked him out of Game 7 last night. I don't know. Jacob Trouba's a tall kid, and Seth Jarvis was coming in at a weird angle. I don't see it as a predatory hit. What do you think? I know what Canes fans are thinking, but what do you think, Matty?
Not to piss off Canes fans, but get over it. There was nothing wrong with the hit. It's funny how the game has changed so much in the last 10 years, where now if a hit is too hard, people want to just go, oh my God, it was dirty. But it was just, he hit him really hard. It was clean. He led with his shoulder.
Yep.
I don't think the head was the principal point of contact there. It was kind of borderline, but it's not as if it's not late. It's not as if he got rid of the puck and then there was a charge. It was literally two guys coming together, and one's just bigger and stronger. And that, unfortunately, is what happened. We see that so much. Like, I coach minor hockey, and, we had some exhibition games to start, and we lower level hockey. It's not anything spectacular, but, one of our guys basically got a penalty for hitting too hard. And it's just the way the game has changed. It's a shame, but I understand the hesitancy, because it doesn't have to be the head being the principal point of contact for a guy to get a concussion. But are we really just about it's now a game of collisions as opposed to, body checks? I think that's where we're going. So to a long-winded way of saying, I didn't have any problem with the hit. I thought it was clean, and Canes fans should get over it. Your team should have just scored more goals. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I think it's one of those points where it's, oh, my guy is hurt. That's the problem. Like, if Seth Jarvis gets up, oh, that's a good hit. But unfortunately, welcome to the NHL, Seth Jarvis. Sometimes some guys hit big time. I mean, we talk about the Rangers. There used to be a guy that played across the river for many years that if you came across the middle, he'd actually try to take your head off, actually. It was Scotty Stevens. But that's just how the game is nowadays. You can hit hard, but it is a hard hit. And Richard Farley says, Trouba looking like the second coming of Scott Stevens. Look at you, Richard Farley.
There you go.
Reading my mind there. But, it's a physical game, and I know there's a lot of people that want the double IHF rule. But once again, I don't think that's a head contact hit. But let's move this along here to the Tampa Bay Lightning series. We mentioned how the Rangers have been fortunate enough to play the backup goaltenders and the third-string goaltenders in the first two rounds, even though, let's be honest, a lot of us Toronto fans here, we know Frederik Andersen in the playoffs is good as a backup goaltender. But now they're going up against a former Vezina winner, the former Conn Smythe winner, last year's Conn Smythe winner, number 88, Andrei Vasilevskiy. I don't know what it is. I thought I was going to be excited for when Jonathan Quick and Pekka Rinne went head-to-head as goaltenders, or even when Henrik Lundqvist and Jonathan Quick went at it in 2014's finals. I thought those were the dream goaltending matchups. All of a sudden, Shesterkin versus Vasilevskiy is the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. There I go, Gorilla Monsoon here on World Hockey Report, Matty. This, for me, is the best goaltending matchup I think we have seen in the last 5 to 10 years in the playoffs.
It might even be longer than that. It might be
like
that
maybe,
good.
Maybe Brodeur won 01. Like that might be the last one before this.
Well, you're talking about at this moment in time, the two best goalies in the world. Like we can say what we want about Andre Vasilevskiy in the regular season. He had his moments where he looked human, but he did not look human against the Florida Panthers. He looked human again.
981.
Yeah, almost matching it. By the way, he has a terrible number. Goalies, do me a favor. Keep it traditional, 129 or 30 to 39, and that's it. No more of this 88 or Mikko Koskinen 19 nonsense.
I was about to say, what's worse, Mikko or Vasilevskiy?
Koskinen for sure.
Yeah.
19 over there. That's a goal scorer's number.
That is a goal scorer's number.
That's a goal scorer's number.
682 goals, by the way. Or no, 692, excuse me.
Yeah, that's a goal scorer's number. But anyway, I look at this goaltending matchup and I can't pick one either way because here's what I will say. Bet the under wherever you can, because this series feels like it's going to be very entertaining because, we didn't see a lot of goals in the Rangers Hurricane series, but it wasn't overly entertaining either. Now you have two really good offenses going up against two really good goaltenders. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring opportunities. I don't think we're going to see a lot of goals because the way that both of these guys are coming into this series, it's like we've never seen before. We talked about like a 950 save percentage or whatever it was Shesterkin had. You talked about a 981 save percentage for Vasilevskiy. I don't think we've seen two hotter goaltenders go up head to head against each other. This is as ideal a matchup as the NHL could ask for with the big market of New York. And then you've got the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, plus both goalies who are the best in their craft are playing at an elite level. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't handicap it either way because you want to say, well, Shesterkin is hot and he's been playing, but I think the rest is going to do Vasilevskiy some good here, and it's going to do Tampa Bay some good. Best goaltending matchup that we, like you said, probably since 01 Brodeur and Waugh.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of all the matchups in the past. I mean, yeah, we've had Fleury and Holtby, which is great. Holtby is a former Vezina winner, but two guys that are at the top of their game right now at this point. Like, yeah, you have to go back almost over 20 years. No offense to. I'm sure there's people that will pound the floor down for Antti Niemi versus Michael Leighton as being probably the best goaltending matchup in the
for the wrong reasons.
Finals. Oh, man. Too bad Brian Boucher didn't get in that series, man. We got a lot of predictions for this series. 5 A's. It's AAAA. So it's like AA, but like super powered, Matty. He says Tampa in 6 or 7 games. Jack Ike Goal is Jacob's daddy. Jacob loves THPN. That's a very long name. He says Tampa in 6. He says Igor sucks. Logan Thompson is better. Someone is trying to stir the pot, Matty. Of course, it helps that he's a Vegas Golden Knights fan, because Logan Thompson, he's definitely the best goaltender in the league, right, Matty?
Yeah, he's absolutely better than Igor Shesterkin is. No, I mean, even to handicap this series, doesn't it really feel like it's going 7? Like I don't know how much the rust is going to hurt Tampa Bay. I think they just know how to play in the playoffs, so I don't think it's going to affect them that much. Starting on the road might be good for them because they can get out of the house. They're traveling, whatever. Although they had to travel last night is my guess. Yeah. So I have a really hard time picking against Tampa Bay. I really do. After seeing them, be down 3-2 to the Leafs, and then they win 2 in a row. I know it's the Leafs, whatever, but still they were down 3-2 in a series to a team that had them on the ropes and they went to overtime. And remember, Tampa Bay had to tie that game and not the other way around.
Right.
I look at this situation and Tampa just knows how to win in the playoffs. And I know the Rangers have gotten close before and with some of the guys on this team, but I can't, to be honest, I'm kind of rooting for Tampa Bay because I like to see greatness. When was the last time we saw a team win 3 Stanley Cups in a row?
Jeff Merrick's favorite team, 1983.
The New York Islanders. And that was before both you and I were born. A long time before you and I were born.
Much longer, yeah.
So I like to cheer for greatness. Like I'm not actively rooting for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I want to see greatness. I think John Cooper's a great coach. He's also a great guy. That helps. And they have probably 6 Hall of Fame players on their team, or 6 Hall of Famers, including the coach.
Yeah.
That's a team that is destined for greatness. I think it's Tampa Bay in 7.
I picked Bolts in 6 because it feels like if they can get 1 or 2 in MSG, if they can split the first 2 games at MSG, that's going to be huge. Jack Eichel says Tampa 4-peat coming next year. I don't know, man. I think it's a lot harder to win now. No offense to the great Islanders teams of the 80s, but it seems like with the fact of, there's a lot more teams now and only half the league makes the playoffs, I just feel like it's a little bit tougher now.
And the salary cap. Don't forget about the salary cap.
And, can we, if knock on wood, if it happens, if they went, because obviously Pittsburgh went back to back, even though they did not go this far in their try for a 3rd championship. If it happens, Matty, can we say? I know everyone says in the South. Geez, my microphone's right there. if in the salary cap era, can we say that beyond that the Tampa Bay Lightning might be one of the greatest dynasties in the game's history? Going back to the Canadiens 5-peat, the 4-peat in the 70s, and we mentioned the Islanders and even the Oilers. If it hadn't been for Steve Smith, they could have won 5 or 6 in a row. Could we say that this is the best team ever?
Yes. And I will go as far as to say, if the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup this year, it is the greatest dynasty in NHL history. And not because, listen, those Oiler teams had 100 Hall of Famers on them. It's not about who was on the team. It's the difficulty to win and maintain a certain level in the salary cap era. The salary cap also hasn't gone up.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that they've had to contend with.
But $18 million over the cap, Matty. Oh.
And you know what? Good. And you know what? Good for them.
Exactly.
Good for them. If you're not, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
100%.
So I think just because of how hard it is to win in the NHL, because of how many games they play, because of, there's a lot of other factors, but I just think that it is hard when you have a cap in place and you can't return the same guys year over year, but you manage to win. That's good coaching. That's good management. And that's good. That's players coming in and buying into the system, much like the New England Patriots were in football for so many years. I'm a Bills fan. They suck. But that's how good teams stay good. Bad teams stay bad because they don't do these things right. Good teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, they stay good because they're able to do that stuff.
They're deep all the way around. I mean, they're not just, Julian Breezewell. I mean, yes, we can look at Stevie Yzerman, and the core of this team was built because of Steve Yzerman, 100%. But what Julian Breezewell has done to put them over the hump has certainly been noteworthy. And then you look at the team and how they've played. I mean, when we had Kyle Bukauskas on last Thursday, we talked about what happened in Game 2. And after that game, I said to myself, Florida doesn't have a chance. This team is on another level. They're back to being the Lightning that we saw. They looked like a harder working version of the 62-win Tampa Bay Lightning team. That's what I say about that, Matty, is that they look as dominant, but they look as dominant at the right time. That's what makes this team so much more dangerous. And no disrespect to the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to give them heck because of Igor Shesterkin. Try to keep it PG there. That's what I tried to do, Matty. I'm sorry. But it just seems like this team right now is on a roll, and I feel like the break helps them because, my goodness, I mean, all the shots blocked in those last 3 games and all the work they've had to do. And I would not be shocked if we heard someone was hurt, like if Kucherov was banged up or, Jan Rutta or something like that, because it just seems like the way the playoffs are, someone's got some broken rib somewhere or a collapsed lung. And Mikey Red FL puts a good point. A lot of miles on the Bolts, but this rest might help them. And like we mentioned, rust for championship teams, they can easily wear it off. Just give them 2 good shifts, and there you go.
Yeah, and, I like the point you made about Julien Brisebois, because I said at the beginning of the year, everybody's like, oh, they lost this third line. How are they going to compete? And my answer was, Julien Brisebois is going to figure it out. And he went out and he got Nick Paul, and Nick Paul's actually been the better acquisition, and it cost less than Brandon Hagel. Right. But that's what he did. He went out, he signed these guys. They brought in Corey Perry, who's been a great fit there. What else can you ask for? I mean, he's done a great job. John Cooper's never won a Jack Adams trophy. Julien Brisebois has never won GM of the year. So those awards to me are fraudulent because those guys are two of the best at their craft and everything else doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's like the way that, I mean, I knew Cooper was nominated for during the 62 win season, but of course the Jack Adams is, this team was supposed to be crappy. That's why Gerard Gallant might win.
Always.
It's always that case.
Always.
I mean, geez,
always.
How can John Tortorella win the Jack Adams? Well, he took a last place Columbus Blue Jackets team to the playoffs. Even though, let's be honest, they had no business being in the playoffs that year. But that's a discussion for a different time. Matty, before we let you go here, I want to get your thoughts here. We're going to break down the Western Conference here in just a little bit with Erik Pessolano. But I got to get your take on the Avs Oilers. Game 1 tonight, the McConference Finals. McDavid versus McKinnon. Makar versus, I guess, Darnell Nurse, if that's the best defensive matchup we can look at here. Two goaltenders that we don't know what the heck could happen with either of them. But what do you think this series is? We put the question out today saying how many goals are going to get scored? Less than 30, 30 to 50, or over 50? Like, this series could go one of two ways. Super high scoring, 30 goals a game, or Mike Smith and Darcy Kemper play like Vezina candidates. What do you think happens?
I don't think the latter is going to be the case. I think it is the former. Darcy Kemper really hasn't had a ton of work. Like the St. Louis series, he got some work. He barely played in round 1 against not barely played, but he did get hurt and missed the last, whatever it was, game and a half of that series, right. Or maybe it was last
Francouz
2 games.
Played game 4, that's right, against Nashville.
Yeah. So, and even against St. Louis had some pushback in some of the games, but this is a totally different team we're talking about with the Edmonton Oilers here. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. If I'm not mistaken, history would tell us that these two teams have actually, this is my betting hat that's on. I believe they hit the under a few times this year. So it's weird, but I also think that I look at this series and say these two teams are playing at an incredible clip offensively right now. I don't think that changes because when we get to the playoffs, every other time, everybody's like, well, they put the whistles away. Well, that hasn't really happened. But even still, there have been points where the Avs have looked like they have no interest in playing defense. And the same thing can be said for the Oilers. I think it's a high scoring series. I'm looking forward to it. I know everybody talks about Connor McDavid versus Nathan McKinnon. I am so looking forward to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl against Devon Toews and Kuehl Makar. Because Kuehl Makar and Devon Toews are going to be up against them all series long. Connor McDavid is going to be sick of Kuehl Makar and Devon Toews by the time it's done. Having said that, I really wonder if I know the Oilers' depth has been better, but I just don't know if it's as good as Colorado's. Their depth is so strong.
And a lot of their guys, too, for Colorado have been kind of iffy, too. Like Andre Burakovsky, I expect more out of him in this series. And Mikko Rantanen's been hit or miss, too. So if those guys can step up right now. And you make a good point, and I think we're going to touch on this with Eric here in just a minute. Is Kuehl Makar... And I had this problem last year when Adam Fox won the Norris Trophy. Cody Janzen and I here at World Hockey Report just tore it apart. I like the fact that, yes, you can credit a defenseman having a great offensive season, but for me, the Norris Trophy is awarded to the best defenseman. That's why I don't think Kuehl Makar should win it. He probably will because the PHWA, likes to have some fun and likes to be thrifty that way. But I still think Victor Hedman should get it, or Roman Josi even, because Roman Josi plays at both ends of the rink. Can Kuehl Makar play defense to stop Connor McDavid, I guess is the question. Because we know he can skate with him. He's fast. But can he actually play defense against 97?
Oh, yeah. I really like Kuehl Makar's game defensively. Actually, he's vastly improved from his rookie season. Playing with Devon Toews helps because he's been great. I still think Victor Hedman's the best defenseman in the world right now. And Roman Josi doesn't get the tough defensive assignments that usually falls on Matthias Ekholm and Alexander Carrier. Kuehl Makar and Devon Toews get tough matchups. They really do get tough matchups. And he's still able, both guys put up, Makar had 80 whatever points. And I want to say Devon Toews had over 50. And that's your top defensive unit. I mean, and Kuehl Makar is going to get better. The one thing to watch for in this series is watch how good Kuehl Makar is at playing the body. He is an underrated body checker. His angles are so good, and it's because he's so shifty, he's able to catch guys when maybe they don't expect it. I think Cale Makar's game is as close to perfect as you can get because he's as good as Victor Hedman is offensively. He's certainly not Cale Makar. And I think they're pretty close. That it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch McDavid and Makar just skate beside each other. Like, who's going to win this one? Because I think it's going to happen a lot. Because I think, we're going to see a lot of Connor McDavid, the 23, 24 minutes a night, because he basically has to carry Leon Draisaitl. And that's nothing against Draisaitl. He's hampered with an he has one leg. Yeah, and he's been great. So I think that's the key to this series is, can Leon Draisaitl keep up with the pace? Because the speed of this series, I feel, is going to be like something that we've never seen. And we're going to say all this, and every game's going to be 2-1 or 3-2.
Mike Smith,
because we know that's going to happen.
42 saves. Darcy Kemper's going to stop 28 or 29 a night. It's going to be great. Yeah.
It'll be exactly what we didn't expect. Just because it's Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will.
Yeah, and then we look over at the Lightning and the Rangers. It's going to be 6-5 every night because Chris Kreider will get 10 goals and Steven Stamkos will put up 9 in the series. It'll be hockey. It's hockey.
It'll be what do we call? It'll be what's the word from Stranger Things? We're in the
upside down.
We're in the upside down. Yes. That's it. Or the Twilight Zone. That's the other one.
Oh, yeah, but say we can go. Well, I'd say that's an older reference. Like, wait, Jordan Peele just did that. By the way, don't spoil anything for me. We haven't started yet. We were trying to get on the Obi-Kenobi. We're trying to gather ourselves to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, have you? I should have asked Matty. Are you a Letterkenny guy?
I used to watch Letterkenny a lot, and then I just stopped watching it. But I have watched Shoresy.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. What last thing here? I know we said we're going to wrap it up after the Western Conference Finals, but I got to ask you. Because I played senior A, you played junior hockey. How real is that to you? Because for me, that's actually like it. While a little bit's kind of extenuated, I think it's pretty on par with how it is.
It's pretty accurate, I would say. Like I didn't play the senior hockey, but I know I played. We played in some real interesting places in junior hockey. Like we had. We played up in a place called Elliott. Actually, you might even have heard of Elliott Lake because it's
Noge.
So I didn't play in the Noge. They were in the Outlaw League at that point, which is where I played.
Oh, the GM.
And we played there, and I think there were 600 fans at the game that night, and it was packed like on top of you. It's a small barn. I had little kids yelling at me and things that I cannot repeat on this program, and that's not even a word of a lie. I literally had to tell kids that a specific person that comes around on Christmas was not real. That's how bad it got. I didn't even feel bad about it. Jeez. But it's pretty accurate. I mean, like you said, it does get a little over the top, which is why it's funny. But I've been in those brawls before. I was never the fighter. I was always the guy maybe sticking somebody. But I've been in those bench clearing brawls. I've seen the goalie fights. I've seen all that stuff and the chirping that goes along with it. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Oh man, it's crazy. And I mean, I myself am a goaltender. I was close to getting into a fight once. Never unfortunately got into one. But and that's why, like, I know it's funny. I showed it to my buddy of mine. He's like, "Wow, that's a lot of chewing tobacco." And I'm like, "Buddy."
That's normal.
That's normal. I'm like, we had a rule because we had a carpeted locker room when I played college, and we had to, and our coach said, listen, guys, you can do as much as you want, but you cannot do it in the locker room. And there were a lot of guys that would get the shakes before games because of it. Like it was freaky, but yeah, no, that is true for sure. We've been chatting up here with Sportsnet's Matty Marchese here today. You can catch him. You're hosting Thursday, Friday for Jeff, right?
Thursday and Friday this week. And I think Jeff's taking some Fridays off. So I'll be in and around there until the end of June. And then we're off the air for the summer as of July 1st.
You're telling me you couldn't do a hockey show every single day during the off season? I mean, come on. Isn't that where you show the attrition and all the endurance that you've built up all the years, all the gray hairs in your beard, Matty?
We did that during a pandemic, so I don't know if I want to do that again.
Oh gosh, poor Dave and Jeff. Like I remember listening to some of those shows too on Hockey Central. I'm like, man, just someone should just tell them. Just let's wait till we know.
Yeah, it was a grind. I mean, it wasn't so bad because you could really just book any former player in advance because nobody's doing anything. Exactly. So they were all happy to come on. It was the best guest list I've ever put together. I can promise you that.
It was a great show, but you could tell it was wearing on all those guys up there.
It was a grind.
Be sure to follow Matty, guys, at Matty
89.
89. That's the number. I'm like, what number is it? Look at you being all Mr. That's my birth year. I just use my.
That's it. That's it.
So if it just in case how you're wondering how old Matty is, not just the gray beards, but 89. Taylor Swift, 89. Matty, thanks for taking the time once again, man. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs, and we'll definitely have to catch up down the line and definitely talk some wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. You let me know. I'm always available, and thanks for having me on. Greatly appreciate the invite.
And on the other side, guys, we'll get more into the Western Conference Finals here on World Hockey Report with Erik Pessolano right after this. Get ready to win with Billy's Smelling Salts. Billy's Smelling Salts are for gamers, athletes, and competitors alike who want to get in the zone. Us at World Hockey Report teamed up with Billy's, and if you use the promo code WHR when checking out, you'll save yourself some money. The highest quality smelling salts in the game and at the best price point if you use the promo code WHR on Billy's. Billy's Smelling Salts. Get ready to win.
Hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
It's Stanley Cup playoff time in the NHL, and if you want to save some money on your next ticket purchase, sign up for SeatGeek and use promo code WHR when checking out. It's that simple on SeatGeek. When you use promo code WHR on your first purchase, you'll save $20.
Welcome back, everyone, here to World Hockey Report. Here on this Tuesday edition, we already previewed a little bit of the Eastern Conference Finals, which start tomorrow night, featuring the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously the three-time Stanley Cup champion, well, potential three-time Stanley Cup champions. Almost botched that one. Well, we have also a couple teams that have won Stanley Cup championships before, but it's been a while since they have done it. We'll get to that here in just a moment, guys. But we got to remind you that do not forget you can find the best player tracking for the conference finals, both East and West, on QuackStats. That's right. Follow QuackStats on social media and go check out their website and app today for more better player tracking from QuackStats. And with that, let's get into the Western Conference Finals a little bit. Edmonton and Colorado. That starts tonight. I can tell you I'm excited. Why? Because it's the McConference Finals. Yes, that's right. Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. How will it go? Well, unfortunately, guys, I can't just do this by myself. You guys know that. You guys know I'm not that good at doing this little shindig. So with that, I need to bring in some help. With that, I'm going to bring in a guy that I've known now for a couple years. We kind of connected during the pandemic because he was bored, I was bored. It worked out for all of us. He is a guy that made his American Hockey League debut. He's a broadcaster like myself. Unlike myself, he's a little bit of a better guy. Anaheim Ducks high school hockey broadcaster as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Erik Pessolano. Erik, how you doing today, sir?
That's the greatest intro I've ever had, and I'm going to ask everybody never to do that again because that's the top of the mountain. I think that's it right there. You've done it.
Erik, the way you're trending, buddy, Bruce Buffer is going to be, introducing you one of these days. So don't say that, because if you can get Bruce, because Bruce Buffer will just say, "Hey, you're pretty well. I don't know. You're a pretty good guy, Erik. I'm going to introduce you when you start broadcasting the NHL," or however Bruce sounds. Because let's be honest, Erik, you're going to be there in like a year and a half. I'll be honest.
I appreciate that. I hope so. I mean, that'd be great.
I got to ask you about that, eh? Like you got, because how many games? Just one game with San Diego this
one
year?
Game.
How
Yep,
was that? I mean, I saw it. I know you post some of the clips up of it. It looked it looked fun. I mean, geez, you're all of a sudden calling, pro hockey. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a whirlwind. They needed somebody to step in real quick just for a night. And thanks to Andy Zilch for allowing me the opportunity. He's the San Diego Gulls regular play-by-play voice. Came in, thought it was just going to be a regular game. The Gulls had a chance to clinch a playoff spot that night, and they didn't win the game, but they needed a Tucson loss. It was one of those games like win or Tucson loses.
Yeah.
And we were in post game, and with 5 seconds left in regulation, Tucson lost and clinched the playoffs for the Gulls while we were on the air. And I was down to maybe my last minute and a half or so of the broadcast, and it was just like, okay, Gulls fans, you're going to the playoffs. So
and of course, like everyone tuned out at that point too. The game was over. They thought the season was over.
Yeah.
No one listened to you. That's the worst part, right?
Yeah, I mean, and up in Pechanga Arena, right? We were all following that score, and we're like, "Oh, it's going to go to overtime. We'll be off the air by then, whatever." And then the score flashed, and I think they were playing Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. They had scored with 5 seconds left to beat Tucson, and we're all up in the press box thinking, what just happened? So, for my first game up there, was a wild night. Had a great time. BJ McPherson, the color man up there, really made it very welcoming. So glad I got the opportunity. And hey, you never know. Maybe one time again we'll get the shot.
Hey man, listen, the quality of your broadcast, man, I can tell you, you're going to be doing a lot more of those soon. Especially not just the fact that you did an American League game, but you're doing so much awesome stuff over there in Cali. Even though you're a Cali kid, Erik, we got to talk about the Colorado Avalanche because they are your favorite team. Even though I would love to tell people that Minnesota Wild is your favorite team, just because of the lovely history you have. But one more thing though, before we get to the series here. I got to ask you quickly here. Did you watch the ESPN trailer of the Avalanche Red Wings rivalry documentary they put together?
Listen, I'd be remiss to mention, I've got a 9 to 5, right? I was at work the other day and I opened the phone, kind of jumped on Twitter just for a minute and saw this trailer for this E60 documentary, and I about melted in my chair at work and started texting everybody I know. Did you see this? Did you see this? I mean, that was the formative years for my hockey viewing, right? I was a kid when all that rivalry began, and seeing a lot of those images that you never really thought you'd see again unless they play each other, which, nowadays is going to be even more rare. They may not see each other in the playoffs ever again. At all. No, not even a little bit. But to see that and to bring all those faces and all those names back in on both sides, Colorado and Detroit, it was a moment. It might be the thing I'm most excited for as far as content is coming out in the world of TV and film.
Well, like it was crazy because that same day, because we'd recently my wife and I went on vacation. We came back, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, came out on Disney+. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Love Star Wars to death. Stranger Things came out. Love Stranger Things. New Letterkenny spinoff Shoresy came out. Love that show as well. I am more excited for this Red Wings Avalanche thing than I am for all of those things combined. Because like you said, I'm like, I know, yes, I cheer for the Leafs, whatever. Everyone makes fun of me because of it. But listen, I was born a Red Wings fan. Osgood poster there. Yzerman poster over here. I have a signed Peter Mrazek goalie mask, a Red Wings one. I got a Red Wings gnome in here. Listen, I was a Red Wings fan growing up. So that's why this, for me, is literally going to be like 5-year-old Tyler bursting at the seams. Because, talking about the last time the Avs were in the conference finals, I was in first grade, Erik. That was the last time. That was when Pavel Datsyuk beat David Abisher in Game 7 of the conference finals. David Abisher, that's right, kids. Patrick Waugh got pulled in the second to last playoff series between the Avalanche and the Red Wings. There you go. Just to refresh your memory there, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for that. I felt that knife drive in a little bit more. But, by the way, the Star Wars celebration was in Anaheim this past weekend.
Oh,
hoping I could have seen you out here.
But Eric, I work for Disney. I get to see Star Wars stuff all the time.
I was hoping I'd see you out here this past weekend, but that's all right. Maybe next time.
Okay, I gotta ask you, and I know you're gonna say which one I'm pretty sure I know which one you're gonna say because you're biased because you work. But which one's better, California or Florida? If I were to go to one of the Disney parks, I mean, Disney World seems like it's like a months long experience, which would cost me $1 million. But which from what you've heard, what you've seen, Cali or Florida, Disneyland versus Disney World?
Okay, first I have to say this because I'm required to, that the thoughts and opinions I'm about to express are in no way a reflection of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries.
On the bottom.
I'm required to do it. If I were to give you my true opinion, I wouldn't be allowed back on property this week. So I think that should probably answer your question.
So, oh man, you're telling me, you're beating around the bush. That's the most hockey thing you can do, Eric. They're both really good. They're both really good parks. One's a little bigger. But they're both really good working parks.
Let me put it this way. Go to California first.
Okay.
If you're going to go to both, go to California first.
Perfect. It's funny because my wife's best friend, who she's actually in their wedding, she went to California a couple of years ago, and she said it was still awesome. So I'm like, okay, so I guess California seems pretty fun too. I don't know, like since I was a kid, maybe it's because I'm in, let's call it East Coast bias, Eric. It's always been we got to go to Florida.
Yeah, I get it. No, it's closer. I mean, that's how it works. But we're the original in California, right? Yeah, we got a new theme park that wasn't there originally, but Disneyland has all the charm, and Walt Disney World was, it was Walt's way of saying, I got a lot more land and I can do a lot more things. So that's why I always say California first, Florida later, because it's like wetting your palate out here, and then you go out to Florida, and it's eye-opening.
So pretty much everyone, Eric, is saying go to Disney California first, because if you do it the other way around, you're going to be disappointed. Okay, got it. Sounds good. No.
I didn't say that at all.
Once again, these the thoughts and expressions that Erik Pessolano puts on today's broadcast are not that of Disney Corporation. But no, let's get to the hockey here. Speaking of Disney, even though we could go down memory lane with the Mighty Ducks movies, but unfortunately we only have so much time here on World Hockey Report today. Conference finals start tonight, Colorado and Edmonton. If there's a way to talk about this new age, Eric, of what we want hockey to be, high scoring, high flying, exciting, wide open hockey, this is the series that everyone wanted to see. Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Gabriel Landeskog, a goaltender in net for the Avalanche, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl on one leg. Pretty good. I mean, Evander Kane, or revitalized Evander Kane, and once again, a goaltender in net for the Edmonton Oilers. Like, this is exactly what the 04-05 lockout was expected to be. This hockey all the time.
Yeah, and it's a lot less stressful when you don't have a rooting interest. So exactly. I'll tell you, the next week and a half is going to be real fun for me. No, listen, you're right. This is exactly what everybody wanted to see. I think after Colorado beat St. Louis in that game 6, I got a text from my buddy who said, I'm setting the over-under at 12.5 goals per game. Who wants to go in with me? And I said, yeah, that's what everybody's going to expect, is high-flying. But we all know how sports work, right? The opposite's going to happen. It's going to be 2-1 every game.
And it's going to be like the shots, but the shots will somehow be like 35-32 one game, but then 19-16 the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then we're going to see, Smith and Kemper stand on their head every night, and it's going to be something we didn't expect, because that's how hockey works.
Yes.
But, hopefully we get to see, the red light go off quite a bit. They might have to replace the bulb after game 2, but it's going to be two teams flying up and down the ice, and it's going to be a battle of attrition.
And it's hard to say, because right now you look at the two teams. You see on one side, you see McDavid and Draisaitl. The two combined have 52 points through not the entire playoffs. 2 rounds. For put that in context, we had this discussion last week on last week's show I went on a thought rant about guys that don't make it to the finals that win the Conn Smythe. Eric, we talk about those 0-2 playoffs. Peter Forsberg could have won the Conn Smythe that year because through 3 rounds, he led the entire playoffs with 27 points. These 2 kids, on the other hand, have 26 apiece in less games. I don't know what to say other than the fact that Kuehl McCarr's going to have to play defense, right?
I think so. He might actually have to go back there and make a play or two. But yeah, you said 26 points each. They're both 10 points ahead of the next closest point scorer so far in the playoffs, which are both Rangers, by the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the Edmonton team and the Edmonton production we had all hoped to see a few years ago, right? Now it's finally coming to fruition, and they got a few rounds under their belt now. And then, of course, as luck would have it, they run into a team that was probably the best in the regular season, not by points, because that was Florida, of course, but the team that played the best and played the most consistent throughout the year. So this is going to be a heavyweight bout that Edmonton's been waiting for, since Wayne was around. So that they may finally get to that promised land.
Yeah, and I look, but to be fair though, I was having this discussion with Nick Alberga last Thursday, and one of them was the fact that as much as I fear Connor McDavid, his speed, his skill, when I see Nathan McKinnon coming down the wing, we all remember the Lake Tahoe game, Alex Pietrangelo getting mic'd up and seeing McKinnon skating at him, and he goes, "Oh no." That is a terrifying guy, Nathan McKinnon. Yes, 13 points, not nearly as much as McDavid and Draisaitl, sure, but this guy is playing determined. We saw that in Game 5 with the hat trick and the ridiculous end-to-end goal, Eric. Nathan McKinnon, the end of the year press conference last season, he says that he has been in the league for how many years and he hasn't won a blanking thing. Can't say it on the air here because we don't want to get kicked off by the FCC, but you know what I'm saying. This guy wants to win, and he wants to win now.
And he's figuring out ways to do it without putting the puck in the back of the net. He doesn't need to do that, which I think is the most dangerous part of this Colorado team. The man had a hat trick and they lost in a potential game clincher at home. And they lost that game. And what happens? The next night, you don't hear from him at all. Or the next game, I should say, 2 nights later. Yeah. You see JT Comfort twice and Darren Helm, who, thank you, former Red Wing, for sending us to the next round.
A former Red Wing would be a hero for the Colorado Avalanche. Somewhere my grandfather's peeling in his grave.
Right? So they can do it with anybody. There's nights where you won't hear from McDavid or Draisaitl, and Edmonton is dead in the water. There's nights you don't hear from, McKinnon and Landeskog and Rantanen. Rantanen's been, virtually silent this entire playoff. But, on a regular basis, you don't hear from those guys. This team still probably has a pretty good chance to win. So the depth factor is going to be major here, especially with the production they get from blue liners. As you mentioned, Makar might have to play defense. But between him and Taves and the offensive production that they bring, Edmonton has to be on their toes the entire series. Otherwise, to be honest with you, this could go real quick.
And that's not what we want. I feel like if this series goes 7 games, there might be 40 goals scored between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be that crazy. Obviously, we mentioned we joked about the over/under per game, but you mentioned Devin Taves, and I remember when he got picked up by Joe Sakic, I said to myself, "What is Lou doing? And is Joe really? Is this really worth it, Mr. Sakic?" And what we've seen this season and in these playoffs, we have seen how important he has been playing with guys like Makar. So Makar can do the Kuehl Makar things, wheel around the ice, skate around, make everyone look dumb. Nashville's probably still on its edge and probably still underwater because of the avalanche of Kuehl Makar, because it melted in Nashville. That's the joke about the snow and stuff. But to my point, Devin Taves has been such a great player, and it makes Joe Sakic look like a GM of the year.
Yeah, you need a guy like that too, especially with the way Makar plays, right? He's going to go pinch down. You need to have that defender, that veteran defender, that's almost like the quarterback. All right, kid, you go ahead, you go do what you need to do. I'll be back here. And then to have, the wingers who have the presence of mind to drop back and cover for him in case anything goes wrong. This team doesn't allow shorthanded goals either. When you have a defenseman that plays up like that, you expect there to be a hole on that back line for teams to go the other way and have a lot of breakouts. don't see that a lot because the communication is there between those blue liners. So having a guy like Taves back there who's been around the block a little bit, it's certainly been a huge help. And then all the other defensemen stepping up too, with Byram finally getting, a full good playoff run under his belt to this point, getting this to this third round. The experience factor is building and building. The one thing that worries me about the team is that killer instinct, that sense of, hey, we're right here, don't screw it up, rather than go win it. It's don't screw it up. And I think we saw that in Game 5 against St. Louis, up 3-0. Hey, we got this. Let's just sit back a little bit. Then it bit them. And, same thing happened against Vegas last year. Same thing happened against Dallas in the bubble. So, it's, can they finally put the foot on the throat of the opponent? And luckily I think that first small hill was overcome against St. Louis, but now you're in the big boy rounds. so you really need to step it up.
Do you think, though, since you're taking on Edmonton, who was in this same boat, granted, though, they hadn't made it out of the first round in 5 years, au contrary to Colorado here, do you think that almost maybe, I don't say the lack of a killer instinct to your point, but I mean the point of, maybe not being able to, be confident in themselves when it comes to this situation because they haven't won anything, to McKinnon's words. Do you think that matchup kind of helps Colorado in this case? That, like I said, Edmonton, even though they have the world's greatest player and the world's second best player and somehow 40-year-old Mike Smith, like they don't have that killer instinct either because they have not been in this situation in 16 years.
Yeah, and I think another thing that works to Colorado's favor is that pressure factor. I don't see the pressure in Denver being anywhere near as much as it is in Edmonton, right? We know that. The
what do you mean? I listened to one of the radio stations in Denver once, and they talked about the Avs for a good 45 seconds. The Nuggets were playing the same night, so
of course. But yeah, I mean that pressure factor weighs a lot on the Oilers, and it's there for Colorado too, especially for them having the expectations over the last few years and not being able to get over that hump. But you feel like they breathe a sigh of relief after getting over St. Louis. And whereas now Edmonton, that pressure is just building even more and more because they are getting closer. I do, by the way, have to give a shout out to all the Kings fans around or actually the Oilers fans should be thanking the Kings because, the Stanley Cup went on a tour and it came to Anaheim a few weeks ago. And as a matter of fact, the day I went to go see it, because I'd never seen it in person, shockingly enough.
Well, you're from California, and I live near Toronto, so it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's only been down here 3 times. So when it was on display a couple weeks ago, and I was waiting in line just like everybody else, waiting to see it, take a picture with it, the only people who touched it were wearing black and silver and white, and it was the night of Game 7.
Oh,
so
he's still the beating heart of all the Oilers fans. They Mike Keenan themselves what they did.
Exactly. They got a little bit of help there. So, but like I said, pressure is much more heavy on Edmonton. That's no secret. We all know it. And I think that helps Colorado a little bit. Home ice advantage doesn't hurt. But the killer instinct factor, I think the goals will be there. But wrapping up a series is going to be massive for the Avalanche.
Yeah, it's going to be tough too. I mean, the benefit of the fact is that they do host games 1 and 2 and then 5 and then possibly 7. I feel like the series might go longer than 5 games, so that certainly plays in the hands of the Western Conference regular season champions. Don't put a banner up. Don't be like Nashville. Last thing before I let you go here, Eric. What is your prediction on this series? What do you think? How many games does it go? Who wins? Who's going to play for a Stanley Cup?
I knew you were going to ask me this.
Well, of course.
I knew you were going to ask me
nice to people. I can't be like, we're going to leave you off. No, we put you on the hook here on World Hockey Report.
You're right. It's going longer than 5. It's definitely going 6 or 7. Honestly, I think it's going to depend on what happens in Game 5. Is it a game that the home team gets out to a lead and maybe they blow it and it makes it 3-2 in favor of Colorado, and then they have to go on the road to try to close it out? Or is it we're going to put our foot on your throat to lead 3-2 going back to Edmonton? So I think Colorado will lead 3-2 after 5. How they lead 3-2 after 5 will determine the rest of the series. If they were up 3-1, they'll win. If it was 2-2 and they go up 3-2, that's a toss-up. So I think that will be the big determining factor. I can't make a prediction, because if I tell you who's going to win, then the opposite's going to happen. So I'm going to let that be. I think Game 5 will be our determining factor.
So Eric says the Winnipeg Jets are going to win this series. It's a good pick.
Sure.
Good call, Eric. Good call.
Sure.
It's okay, Eric. I mean, you're talking about, Colorado winning Game 5 and having a 3-2 series lead. Don't forget the last time they were there in the 2002 Conference Finals, they had a 3-2 lead as well, and it didn't quite work out.
Mm-hmm.
They only played a Hall of Fame team. They only played a Hall of Fame team.
And look, I just told a story about how a bunch of people touched the cup and I didn't. There's no way I'm making a prediction on the series.
That's very true. That's a good move. We've been chatting up here with Erik Pessolano, up-and-coming broadcaster, Anaheim Ducks High School League. He does everything but play in that league from what I've seen of what he's done. Also a AHL broadcaster. We can say that. At least maybe one time, but definitely more times. Be sure to follow him, guys, at Erik_Pessolano. You see it right there, like how you spell his name, like over there in our little time box over there. So you can't spell it wrong. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time, man, and always a pleasure talking to you. And, let's hope, for your sake, love talking to you. So let's hope Colorado makes it a little bit further than, 5 or 6 games in this series. How about it?
It'd be great for W. That's really all I hope. And, speaking of spelling my name, you'd be shocked how many people spell my last name correctly all the time, but cannot spell the first name correctly.
Well, I've had you on previous shows enough times. I think it's hard to mess that up. So there we go.
No, but thanks for having me. Always great to talk to you. I'm sorry about the Leafs, but
it's another year. At least I don't have to worry about stressing it like you do.
That's a good point. You'll live longer that way.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Eric, and we'll be back with more World Hockey Report right after this. And welcome back, everyone, here to World Hockey Report. Yes, I know I said going to break, but we decided not to because, well, we didn't really have to because we've hit our quota, as the kids say, here on World Hockey Report today. On this Tuesday edition, thank you all guys very much for watching and listening, of course. We'll get to how you can listen later. If you are watching the live show right now on 12 Ounce Sports, on Twitter, on World Hockey Report, and or 12 Ounce Sports, and the Hockey Podcast Network on YouTube as well. Thank you, of course, to our guests that we've had earlier. We had Matty Marchese from Sportsnet, and as you just saw and heard, Erik Pessolano. Great guy. Literally those two guys, we probably could go for like a 3-hour show if we wanted to. Unfortunately, both very busy guys. So, but first, I got to tell you guys, I got to ask you guys, do you need a new hockey stick? Well, I can tell you all the big brands keep raising their prices, just like inflation, to make the game more affordable than ever. But you don't have to fall for that. Pro Rock Hockey Sticks, a true Canadian company with real morals, offers players of all levels a top-of-the-line stick at a fraction of the cost. It's lighter, more balanced, and more customizable options than anything off the rack. Check out the family-run business today at prorock.com. So be sure to jump in the chat here just a few more minutes here on today's show. World Hockey Report. Pro Rock is the best. That is right. There were certainly a few good chats while we were having the interview with Eric. Oilers in 6 has LA 8-4. I picked Avs in 6. Like I said, I'm trying to make friends here in Alberta for sure. Tony Saylor. Rangers beat up a bunch of backup goalies. Wonder what they look like against a top goalie. We had that conversation with Mr. Marchese earlier on in the show too, so be sure to go check that out when we're done here today. A couple other good predictions as well. And let's see. Let me make sure I get these right here. Jack Eichel, who we had earlier on, he says Avs in 4. Cody Janzen is questioning whether the Oilers can win in 4. Sean Butcher says Avs in 5. Sentient A, 5 A's. Avalanche in 6. A lot of good picks. Sean Butcher says Avs in 4. I don't know. I'm curious to see. I think this series will go longer. I really think it's going to be high scoring with both teams going back and forth. I don't see this going where, like what we saw in the Battle of Alberta, where it's like, oh, it's going to be exciting, it's going to be long, it's going to be crazy, and it just ends almost before it gets started. I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. I really think that we're going to go deeper, 6 or 7 games in this series. Game 1, of course, tonight. 8 o'clock puck drop, Ball Arena, Denver, Colorado. That's going to be the big one. And then, of course, tomorrow, another 8 o'clock start, the Rangers taking on the Lightning. I just want to say once again, thank you to our awesome guests that we have. And don't forget, guys, if you missed any of the show today, the live show, it's okay. It'll be on demand when we're done. You can go back and watch the replay, whether it be on Twitter, the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel, or wherever you watch this show today. But also, if you don't like seeing our ugly mugs, Matty Marchese and I decided that we both realized we both have faces for radio, no question about it. But if you want to listen to it, whether you're driving or if you like to run listening to the podcast, if you're like me doing yard work on a long Sunday afternoon or a Tuesday night, I guess we could say, or Wednesday, whenever, you can listen to us, of course, on your favorite podcatcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to the awesome guys over at the Hockey Podcast Network. Just search World Hockey Report in your favorite podcast app today to get the latest episodes every single day. Thanks to the guys, like I said, at THPN. So that is it for this one here, folks. Not the full 2 hours today. I know. I'm slacking today. Well, let's be honest. We had so much content in the first hour and a half, we didn't need to go the full 2 hours. So thank you all very much once again. Be sure to follow the show, guys, at World Hockey RPT. Be sure to follow 12 Ounce Sports as well, at 12 Ounce Sports, and the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet. Thank you all very much. You can follow me, the Inside of the Insiders, Tyler Kuehl, at TJKU29. Be sure to follow Eric and Matty Marchese as well. Great follows. Big fans of hockey, just like you and I. And we'll see you all next time. Tomorrow, Cody Janzen's back. He'll have the recap of Game 1 and get you set for Game 1 as well of the Rangers. I almost kept saying Canes. The Rangers and the Lightning. That game tomorrow night as well. I'll be back on Thursday for another edition of World Hockey Report 3 times a week during the playoffs, guys. We only 2 more rounds left, but certainly a lot more action to talk about here at World Hockey Report. We'll see you next time.